Boo-doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo, boo-doo-doo-doo. This would be the intro music if I had it, but I don't. So it's nothing. I'm just making up till somebody comes and says hello. Good evening. I know. It's I'm a couple minutes late, mostly because I had I forgot that when I was packing for this week, out to the garage. Also, we're in a new spot. We're in front of I think this is the 2017. No, this will be off the 2018 car for D-Rec. This is the first car there was a BIBSTER sticker on. Hey, oh Matt. See, it wasn't that late, but I ended up. I had when I packed, I had stuff I took out of the garage, and I had like a big thing of like roasted peanuts, and I tipped it. I didn't realize I tipped it over, and so it had made a giant mess in here. So I was trying to get that sort of cleaned up, but not all the way cleaned up. Anyway, welcome to the. We've now actually gone to something for the weekend. Finally, after the last, I think it's like the third show where I should have been at something the day before and I wasn't. This weekend we actually did something. Went up and spent 2 days up in Edgerton, Wisconsin, or just south of Edgerton, Wisconsin, at the threshing grounds. I think it's like Rock River or something like that. Anyway, it doesn't matter now. Their threshing show is Labor Day weekend. I will say it looks like from the facilities, looks like it'd be a really fun time. They have a lot of really cool equipment on site that they get working for that thresher show. So something that if you're into that kind of stuff, it's Labor Day weekend is when they do that. So I would recommend checking it out. I might have to drive up there myself one of those days just to check it out. It's not too far. It's just a little over 2 hours from home. But yeah, Rock River Threshers. I get confused because we have a Rock River around here. Yes. What's going on, Bryce? Nice to see you. But yeah, either anyway, it's a really nice threshing grounds. So definitely something to check out. But they have a they had a pretty nice track. We ran 2 sleds with the community antique tractor pullers, and everything went really smooth. We were all watching the weather Friday, and I was even sitting here. I'd taken the day off and was watching the weather all day, kind of going, it's supposed to do something, being a little far from home. I didn't want to be halfway up there. Actually, Matt, who's a Wisconsin tractor pulling for him, you'll see him talking in there. I had messaged him and said, hey, I'm on the road. If anything happens, like, I'm not going to be on Facebook, call me or text me, at least let me know, if anything changes, just because we didn't know. But the track actually, any moisture that we got in the way of rain would have been perfect because it did, like, the track definitely wasn't gonna hurt the track at all. Yeah, it is on US 51, Bryce. Right before Edgerton. You're about probably a few miles south of Edgerton there. I know that because on Friday when the rain looked like it was gonna move in, it ended up not. It ended up. They said the guys, everyone that left Friday, they said it was rain all the roads were wet around there. Somehow we just a little anomaly, which is nice because I was tent camping, and I definitely did not want to be trying to sleep in a tent. Trying to sleep in a tent while all of that was going on for sure. So, luckily the weather was nice. It was a little warm on Friday, but Saturday was really nice weather. No, not even a thought of like any kind of rain or nothing like that. So, track turned out pretty well. It was a little dusty, but seemed like it was taking power. So that's good. Looked like it was. I don't even know how many hooks. They said that they were going to announce today or tomorrow the actual count, but it was quite a few. If you saw the video that came out today, that wasn't even every hook because when you're announcing, it's hard to catch every hook and announce and this that. So, but it was like almost 2 hours long. So usually my 2 hour long ones are north of 150 to 200 hooks, somewhere in that range, depending on how they go. And it's hard too because sometimes I was catching both tractors as they're both kind of going on the track. So, but yeah, we had the track patrol was the sled on the other side, and it did a really good job. Had a couple little issues with the there was like a load cell out on the scale, so that kind of made things a little more complicated. At a little more of a line at the scale end for tractors, but see, like I said, everybody seemed to keep their cool and seemed to work out really well. It was a good, like I said, really smooth run program for what as many tractors as they got moved through there, and all of because of it was such a big money on Saturday to win. They had guys that don't normally pull with them, so keeping everybody happy and keeping everybody, like I said, the program just rolling through. We only had one downtime, and that was just to put a little water on the track, and we basically wanted to try and have both sides shut down. And the one class ended, and there was like 4 or 5 tractors on the other one, so we tried to run through those, and then we could water the track, so we weren't shutting down completely too much. But that was the only really tricky thing. And both classes ended. We had, I think there was only three to six tractors. They were off on the end of the day. Like there was 6 tractors that ran on the community sled once the track patrol sled was done. So that worked out really well. They were kind of concerned about with the farm and farm plus being on the community side, if they were going to end up being, the antiques were going to get done really fast, and then they were going to have to move into the, try and jump a class over, which is fine. But then it's hard because it's like, let's say you're doing, if at, you're at 5,000 on the community sled, and all of a sudden you say, okay, 5,500 is going to go over to the other sled. Well, those, all of a sudden, those guys that are pulling, there's not as much turnaround time to get set up to go to that next class. So it can get kind of confusing there. And it's, as you're pulling all day, you're knowing how the sled you're pulling is working and what it seems to be enjoying with the track. And so as you're working through your classes and doing the science and the math and all that stuff, it's nice if you don't have to go from one sled to the other and kind of throw the notebook away per se for the day, because especially those guys that pull the community, they pull the community sled all the time. They really know how that sled works and what it does, kind of what they're thinking about it versus all of a sudden going to a sled you haven't hooked to before and trying to kind of decide for that, because that track patrol was a drive back sled versus a pullback sled, so it was a little different. Nice little sled. It looked like, I think I said on the mic once, it looked like 2/3 the size of a full size sled. Like it had all the features of a big sled, like duals, little cab, but it just was just a little smaller, But talked to him, and he travels all around into Wisconsin. I think he said he goes into Illinois a little bit, gets into Minnesota, but stays pretty busy. Which, if you're a good sled op, you can definitely stay pretty busy. So that was the other sled he saw. But yeah, so that was pretty much, that was Friday and Saturday was the bracket pull on Friday, which that was a lot of fun. I hope it'd be cool to see some more of that happen this summer. I know I've seen them where they talk about bracket pulls, but actually getting to see them in person, it's wild. I mean, it is like, I was telling somebody this morning at church that it's like watching, it's the same way as like watching like the big basketball tournaments, because of it's so fast paced, and anyone, because it's just 1v1, all you gotta do is beat that other guy. Depending on how your bracket works, not out of the the best things done to his tractor and all that. At the end of the day, might not make it as far in the bracket because he drew against a guy that was closer, just had a bad hook that first time, or whatever. So it was fun to watch as the bracket started to work their way through, and guys that were kind of pulling upsets off, making their way through the bracket, and all that. So yeah, it was hard to get, especially. I mean, I and Matt, for you too. I mean, when you're polling, it's even harder. I mean, if you watch any of the videos where I'm actually trying to compete and film, it's like as soon as my class starts, there's no more filming. I mean, except for me, because it's hard to be like, here, film the whole class, but I'm over there trying to throw weights and trying to think about what I want to do, versus when you're filming, you're thinking about, holding, to get the camera out and doing all that stuff. So it makes it tough. Like I said, I've thought about for the Eastern Iowa polls, bringing a buddy along that is just going to film for me, just so that way I can just focus on polling and then have all the stuff at the end and just put the video up, because of that same fact where it's nice to be able to put the whole thing up, but when you're trying to poll too, it's definitely hard to do double duty, and you end up, it's one of those when you're trying to do so much stuff, you're going to end up either like missing some stuff videoing it or not thinking about what you need to do. And then the worst part is when you film it, then you're going to go back and watch it later, and you're like, oh, that's the part of the track that looked good and I didn't drive on. So you always end up second guessing yourself. But yeah, I was excited. It looked like there was a couple other people that were filming, so there might be some other videos you'll see out there. If I see them, like I said, I shared the one that from the bracket poll that was a little better than what I had, and kind of explained who was where versus mine, where it's just like, here's 2 tractors pulling, here's the other 2 tractors pulling. But that is that. I was going to, if anything had changed on Friday night, I was actually going to go hang out with D-Rec. He went down to Davenport, and I haven't got a chance to, because I was so busy with being gone and stuff. But I did say he did make a post that they ran pretty good in their heat race, and then they had a break. Something broke on the car. I don't know if the bolt broke, if threads got ripped out. Some kind of mechanical failure happened in the feature, and took him out of the race. But still making seems like still making progress, and still happy with that. So, like I said, I'll try and hear some more from Derek, and maybe this weekend we'll get to it Saturday as of Friday. I might be able to go and see that and go see him race. So that way it'll be a little more exciting on that regard. Hopefully Davenport. Like I said, I love CJ. It's a fun track, but I don't love the drive home. Also, in upcoming motorsports this weekend, it looks like. Well, I guess we'll finish on this last weekend. It looked like McCook gonna race last night. Saw some guys had some good luck there. East Moline did cancel today because we got some afternoon rain that just kind of extended their chances of getting racing on. But Dubuque and Vinton did run, as well as 34 Speedway. What's going on? So I watched a YouTube video. I'm sure that's not actually your legal name, but yeah, what's going on? But yeah, so that's where I'm trying to think. I mean, everyone pretty much at this stage now. We're getting in the middle of May. Everybody, all the motorsports are pretty much firing on all cylinders. Speaking of that, new motorsport that's starting up this weekend is at the Pete Monster. If you guys know, that's kind of where I started doing more announcing than just here and there, like just being their guy. For the Mudbugs, this weekend is going to be the first Demolition Derby of the year, and that is, I think they call it Just Another Demo Derby is the first one. They have funny names for all the names. There's Just Another Demo. There's the Burning Car, which is the 4th of July. There's the World Series, or World Champions, or World something. I think that might be the last one. And the old guy, or something. There's another one. They have names for all 4 of them. I know the 2 for sure, or the 3rd one, the World one. But anyway, those are fun. I'm excited. I haven't been around those guys since last. Yeah, the last demo that they did was actually the one where I gave Chase my car, the Oksana, to run, and he ran that. Ran a little funky, but I'm excited to see all the demo guys again, because I said last time Glenn was just born, so I got to kind of sneak out, see them all, and then came back home. But I'll be excited about that, so that'll start, I think that starts at like 5 o'clock, is when we're going to do, because they always do Power Wheels first, and they do the kids' classes, then do the whole night off. But that's a fun time if you've never been to the easiest way to say it, it's south of Morrison, Illinois, off of 88 is kind of the easy way. Like if you're on Highway 88, there's the exit from Morrison that takes you up 70. No, is that 78 there? Yeah, I think so. I think that's 78. And that would actually Morrison, and then you take that exit off. That's on Black Road. Is where that is. If you look up P4, his old big name, there's the address, and there's also some maps that kind of show where it's at. So one of those, once you find it, you never need directions to it again, because not much else around there, so you can kind of always discover it. And depending on what time you're getting there, you'll probably see demo cars coming out everywhere. So hopefully we'll have over 100 cars show up to that. We normally do. Again, classes for everything. They do really push. I think where they're doing some big, like factory fresh kind of a thing on this one. The big claim that we like to do at the Pete Monster is have cars that are pretty simple builds, because you can get a whole lot more cars. I'll agree to this thought process. It's a whole lot more fun to see 20 cars that aren't as wild as some of the fully welded monsters, that when they start hitting each other, they look like cars still. They hit each other. They act like how cars do when they're in accidents, and they get beat up decently quick. And when they break, it's usually something they can come back later in the year. Versus, when it's like the pro weld classes, it's like 2 or 3, maybe 4 cars out there. Yeah, they're faster and they're louder, but when they hit, they're so solid that they're not really. You're not seeing all this stuff dent. It's just like watching 2 tanks run into each other. I mean, it's still gonna be exciting because you get some big hits on there and get some big, some guys that are, the tempers are flying. But it's not, to me. I like the more stock stuff. I like where it looks like a car starts to get hit and you're seeing stuff. You're seeing the carnage, and you're seeing passengers in there. They have vans with people in them. So that'll be exciting. I'll be filming some of that. But there's a channel called, it's like Brit Zoli 11 or something like that. I'll talk more about it this weekend. I'll try and link to his channel on that video. He films everything, all the demo stuff that's around here. So if you follow him, you'll definitely be able to see a lot of, because he's got a bunch of GoPros, and he'll put GoPros in cars and then put those videos up. Does really well with it. So nice to have that against that same kind of a thing. Somebody that he also competes, but he's got guys that help him, guys and gals that help him film the whole thing. So he'll have documentation of all stuff that happens. So if you're not there, or if you are there and you want to watch back some of the carnage, some of the wild action, because it does get a little, it gets a little wild there. Just in the sense of you think about dirt track races, guys get mad at each other and start wanting to hit each other. They're like, that's the whole point, is to hit each other. So that'll be fun. That'll be Saturday. So this Saturday will be that. So like I said, if I'm gonna go dirt track racing, it'll probably be Friday night if we go anywhere, and I'll let you guys know on the channel if we're gonna be doing that. Same kind of a thing. We'll do a pit style video. I hope to do that with some other drivers as the summer goes. So if you're in the Eastern Iowa, Western Illinois area, and you want to let Bibster come and be on your crew, that's all you gotta do is just I'll try and I won't be able to do everybody, but it'd be fun to have a few of my buddies that also race, do the same kind of a thing, do a behind the scenes video, and obviously I won't, if you don't want me to show something, I won't show whatever secret you have, but it makes it fun. It's kind of a cool, shows what happens off the racetrack as well as what happens on the racetrack, which I think is just one of the easiest ways to get people more into the sport is when they see the back end. I've said it since I started Bibster Promotions that I recommend everybody once a year, at least one time, spends the extra money to get a pit pass. And just, if you got a driver that you like, message them before and say, hey, I'm going to get a pit pass. Do you need any help at all? You need someone to hold the tire? You need somebody to, scrape mud off after hot laps or after the heat race? You got anything at all like that, and you'll suddenly, it's like you got a part. It's like you're part of the puzzle. You're part of the combination, and it gets you more excited. And when you're watching other stuff, you see, and you're like, oh, it looks like that car's got a little front dig in it, or this, that, or the other. And so I always told people, try it once. You don't have to do it every week, because $30 to $35 a night can get kind of expensive when you're just a crew guy. But it's something I recommend trying and at least seeing what they think. But so yeah, so that's what racing wise. Hopefully this weekend we'll try and get to one race as well as the Demolition Derby. Sorry. Speaking of yawning, yeah. So Friday night, 10 sleeping. Last night, my Bibster was real smart, and we helped with our after prom at our local high school. So got home, was home for a couple hours, basically enough to say hello to the wife and hang on to the baby for a second, and then went to that and got home late. So I have been basically just a big old pile of turd all day. I haven't did nothing out in the garage or anything, just because going all weekend, you kind of got to after that. But so this weekend is a Demolition Derby. Next weekend is going to be the weekend after this, so that'll be Memorial Day weekend. That's our first mud bug at the Pete Monster, and obviously I'll be announcing that. We get that show gets started about 11 in the morning. Usually it runs like 11 till mid to late afternoon. So if you have Memorial Day plans, like a barbecue or something, you're gonna go to Saturday night, you can still get to that, still come out to the show. Those are fun. I really like this. That's the first thing I really did. I think we're gonna try and have. I think Father Bibster or Dad's gonna try and be there to. He usually drives the pull-out tractor. That when the guys get stuck, he pulls them back out. Interesting to see what we're gonna do with the pit this year. I haven't heard too much about it. I'm sure this next weekend when I go out there and see everybody, I'll get kind of an update on what the pit's gonna look like this year. But the Pete Monster it's not an easy pit. It's not a race pit. It's kind of a talk about that. Some guys, it seems like lately everybody wants to go real fast in the mud trucks. 10, 15 years ago, it was all about who can go the farthest. At least that's when I was competing. There wasn't so much trying to get out the other end. I only made it out there once. It was an early season pull, or early season hook, because the track throughout the year will get worse and worse and worse. But I think it'll be interesting to see how what it looks like this year. The last couple of years, it has been the trucks are really starting to figure out the program and getting through it. So we'll see if how deep the hole in the back of the track really ends up being this year. So it should be exciting. And then I think they're gonna do the mud drags there as well. There's only a couple of the big shows with all the trucks, and then there's a couple of the smaller shows that just have the just like the smaller classes, the kind of more stock truck classes. I say stock trucks because, like all motorsports, you can say stock all you want, and it ain't stock. So that's just to be expected. But yeah, so if any of you guys were out at the any of the polls or anything this weekend, or it was only one poll, Edgerton. I think community doesn't poll now until they don't poll for a couple weeks now. I was looking at their schedule. They have one of their blacktop hooks I think coming up soon, which I'll try to get to. I think Midwest. I think it's Midwest Pulling Sled. They're guys that they run their own sled, and then they kind of have their own sanctioning body that kind of goes along with it. They do quite a few asphalt pulls. Try and get to one of at least one of those this year. I don't know if I think I missed it already. I can't remember if the basketball poll happened. I'll have to look. But those are something too that if you've never been to an asphalt pull and you've been into tractor pulls, do yourself a favor and go check it out. It's something wild. It's something. The strategy is all sorts of different because there isn't it's not dirt, so it's interesting to see how the tractors do it, but it is kind of fun because it's the only time if you're going to you don't have to worry about there being dust anywhere. I'll say that much. And usually you're in these really cool small little towns, so those are fun. Like I said, I still would at some point like to bring something like that down here just to see how it would go. I don't know how it would go. It'd be a kind of a shot in the dark. Hopefully, my hope is that if I go traveling where I'm traveling up there as much as I am, if I did something down here, I might be able to try and draw some of those guys in. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I don't think the farm mall won't be polling until June. I think 13th would probably be my first hook with it this year. That's going to be an Eastern Iowa poll in Grand Mound. I've had pretty good luck with that track. I got about a month. There's a little less than a month. We'll see. Supposedly, the Super 88 radiator is supposed to be back like maybe this week. So if it comes back, maybe I'll try and get that thing. I don't know. I don't think I'll have that thing thrashed and ready to go by that poll. But I'd like to. I'd almost hold off going to that poll if I could have the Super 88 ready to go to that 7,500 pound class. Ooh. Spirit Lake for the outdoor. Ooh. Nice. Yeah, they're fun. And they're those mud bogs, if you're ever, when we do them, they're pretty family friendly. Like, you can basically bring in your own whatever. So, a lot of guys will bring a grill and cook, and that there's also really good food on site. I definitely recommend that. That's always the easiest way to do things. But yeah, it's something that they're fun. We do, like, when it gets really hot in the summer, they'll do a kids run where they line up all the kids and they just try and run across the pit. And it is hilarious because they will get the time you got to go in there and grab one of them back out because one of them gets lost. So I only can envision that in like 5 or 6 years, little Glenn's going to be trying to run through the pit. I'm going to have to be like, I'll give you $10. Because that's what he does. Bill will go around and get everybody to throw in five, a few bucks here, a few bucks there for the kids run. And then every kid that runs gets the same amount of money. So it's usually 10 or 11 bucks. And he always says, he goes, I find every one of those dollars back at the pit shack because they all go by and buy candy or a pop or something. But makes it fun. Something fun for them to do. But yeah, something to definitely check out. Like I said, I'll try and post the whole schedule over on the BIBS promotion page on Facebook probably this week sometime. Just as I said, that can kind of change depending on what we're getting for truck numbers. What's looking like it's something that's going to be popular. They'll do more of it. Like I said, we'll run the bigger classes. Just sometimes harder to get the bigger those numbers there for how they like to run. What is up, Gary? Nice to see you. Yep, just a pretty relaxing Sunday minus the lack of sleep the last 2 days. That made it real fun. And our worship leader at church was also helps out at the after prom. So we both were like pretty well dead. But it was all fun. Like I said, we go and we do a thing. It's actually called Donut Squad, and it's a long story for another time. But basically, we started giving out donuts before school, like 6 or 7 years ago now, And so because through that, that's how we go in there and do that. So we usually act like a bunch of morons. We were running Plinko last night, so we were playing game show music, blaring it. It was all fun. But yeah, so that's where the last weekend was, pulling wise and racing and project updates. Obviously, the VAC is still sitting there. Supposedly, talked to my customer. He got a hold of the guy with the motor. He was on vacation or something. Still don't know. The M still needs a bunch of stuff, little stuff done to it. Probably not gonna do. I might put the hitch on before this year, but I really need to build the adjustable stuff for it, and I got to paint a weight rack and do some other stuff. So we'll see about that. I also got to paint my weights. I'm debating what I want to do there. I'd like to try and find a stencil. You know, see if I get a stencil cut out that said like BIBSTER on. What's up, Rick? Sounds about right. I'd like to get some kind of a stencil and have like that says BIBSTER on, and then I can just spray paint that on all the weights. Because my weights are kind of unique, but at the same time, you always will still find like similar style weights, especially because I do have some IH weights when you're at polls, and so it's sometimes guys get them all the way. Eat mouse. So where are you headed tonight, Bryce? What part of the world? But yeah, so we'll see. Right now they're just all mismatched colors, but it does make, especially some of these bigger polls where you might have somebody with the same kind of weights. I'm probably one of the only one. I can't talk tonight. Going to be one of the only guys who has the Kubota style weights, I think. Just because I don't think you see many of those out there. And then almost everything else I have, except for my wheel weights, are all some version of a homemade weight. If it's like homemade style, or not homemade, but an aftermarket style. Oh, nice. An aftermarket style IH weight. I got like 12 of those. Then I got some other that are pretty much just like 40-pound little, like somebody cut them out of a plate of steel and welded a handle on. So those are pretty common. Those are pretty going to be like, yeah, those are mine. But we'll see how that all goes once the season starts. And I kind of figure out what I need to take for weights and a couple extra, because last year I was still taking too much. I'd still end up taking 2,000 pounds when I only needed like 1,500. So there is that. But yeah, looks like everyone's starting to join in now, which is good. But yeah, other than that, it was a pretty busy weekend. Hopefully this next weekend won't be quite as crazy. I was glad that poll ended when it did, so I didn't have to drive back in the dark. Because if y'all remember from last year, BIBSTER likes to fall asleep when it's nighttime and driving. So that makes it fun. But yeah, let's see. Any other exciting thing? I haven't watched the NASCAR race yet, because I usually don't. I just like to find out the aftermath of how it goes, because that's all I really actually. Oh yeah, so I have one, but I don't really necessarily care too much about that. It looked like I thought there was something else racing wise that was exciting this last weekend. They did that. Flow Racing did their Illinois Speed Weeks this last weekend. It looked like that went pretty good. So that was pretty interesting. Looked like that was kind of cool, something to do. And that's what I like to see about that. We can kind of talk about that with some of these big. It seems like there's between that and there's the XR series and a few other things in dirt track racing where there's some big money that they're throwing down. I saw some report, and I forgot who had shared it, but basically this last weekend there was like 68 late model racers that made $1,000 during this last week in races, and then there was there's some like 5 or 6 that had made over 30 grand just because of how many big races there were around. But it's just interesting to see that market, and a lot of that comes from the a lot of that is people are knocking it when it first came out. A lot of that is the live stream money. The fact that you can now put a race on and you still have people there watching it live, and then you can have a bunch of people watching it from home at live that are paying like what it would cost to get a ticket to get in to watch it at home. Then they can when they're turning around and putting pretty big payouts in. I think you're going to see, and I've talked about this before, and other channels have discussed this. But I think back in the early 90s when there was still all like the tobacco money in racing, there was money coming out of everyone's wazoo. I mean, everything was sponsored by. There was, obviously the Winston Cup, and there's, if you look at like mud bog or mud racing and monster trucks, it was the Red Man Series this and the Camel this, and they were just throwing money left and right. And then all of a sudden, when the way the laws all changed, where they couldn't sponsor that kind of stuff anymore, they all that money dried up. I don't think you saw that money come back until the energy drinks came in, like your Red Bulls and your Monsters and all that. See you later, Rick. It looks like, to me, that's where the swing kind of happened. But now with this live stream money involved, where you have people that you can all of a sudden have a race that happens in basically Quincy, Illinois, or any of these small little tracks, all of a sudden can that's true. All of a sudden you can pay a 30,000 to win on like a Wednesday night for late models that 20 years ago, 25 years ago might have happened because people were still going to you were still able to pack the stands out that in a way, and maybe selling TV rights was there, but definitely not 10 years ago. I think you've seen that shift start to go, and I think it's only going to bring the best out, because you're going to see what you're seeing already. You're going to see big time drivers, your Kyle Larsons, some other NASCAR guys. Oh, you broke your gate. Any of the guys are going to be able to think about jumping down, and sponsors are starting to follow them. Look at, obviously, what's up, Shane? Obviously, Kyle Larson's kind of the poster child of that, but when he started with Hendrick, he was basically still on his own. Hendrick said he can do the dirt track stuff, but kind of like, don't be dumb. And next thing you know, HendrickCars.com is sponsoring his stuff outside of NASCAR. So, yeah, that's probably true, Rick. Probably true. And so it makes it where all of a sudden there's a whole lot more money getting played in that. And so, no, I'm not watching. There's a lunar eclipse. I should probably go look at it. I am in the garage and the door's open, so the Wi-Fi works. Maybe I'll peer out when the show's over. But let me know what you guys think about that. Obviously, that's kind of like back, inside baseball racing talk, but I think it's something that is going to help with the racing industry as a whole, because anytime you can pump more money into it and make it more lucrative, you're going to have more stuff. You're going to have more people getting into it that aren't, you're going to have more. You have guys that are looking at it as more of a business opportunity instead of just like trying to struggle on the race. So I think it'll be good for everyone. And again, I think you'll see that trickle down into your weekly dirt track racing as well. I always say when a lot of dirt track guys will knock NASCAR for things, and I knock NASCAR for decisions they make. All right, Bryce Lee in a little bit. I think that's true. If you're in Oregon, it's probably going to be hard to see. I think with NASCAR, anytime the technology trickles down from NASCAR, so dirt track racers that are like, blah blah, they're just all this, that, and the other thing. I think you still got to look at the fact that at the end of the day, it's still going to come down to it's still going to work itself down. If the head fell off, like if NASCAR did completely tank, we would see the ripples would go all the way through all the racing series, just because some of the R&D that's on a NASCAR level comes down, eventually works its way down to the local dirt track stuff eventually. Anyway, that's enough of my inside baseball yabbering. Yeah, there's a eclipse tonight, isn't there? It's kind of cloudy here, so I'm not sure if I'll see it. I'll just gotta peer out there. Yep, it's probably going on. I'm not sure, but yeah. Okay, so anything else exciting going on? Anyone else do anything crazy over the weekend? Like I said, it was pretty much just a bam, bam, bam. Remembering why you guys will like this. This is a good story. We got your tinfoil hat on. That's important. You just never know, Shane. So, it's a funny story. So I was getting everything packed, ready to go in my tent. Last time I used my actual tent was when we were filming the Fall Bash in Tipton. This is the only time I ever use it, so I get from doing a couple-day race. So I go to open my tent up, and I open the door, and there's the pajama pants from like 2 years ago that they've been in there that I was like, I've been wondering when we moved where they ended up at. Thought maybe I lost them or something. No, they've been just in the tent, just ready to go, ready to go. And I also so I get there, and again, as I said, they were calling for rain all day, calling for rain, and there's a chance for rain at night. And I originally told myself, I'm not gonna set the tent up, I'm not gonna set up camp until after the races are over, because that way, I don't have to worry if anything, something dumb happens weather-wise, it's not set up. Well, of course, yeah, you have to wear it at all times if you're in Oregon, for sure. So I was like, I won't set up. We'll have some time to kill. I thought, well, maybe I'll get it. I'll get it set up at least that way. Depending on, because I don't know how late this thing's gonna go, I won't be having to set up much stuff. So I go ahead, set the tent up, set up the little I got one of those like little shade things put up next to the tent, and all of a sudden we're out there, we're pulling, and it's going pretty well. The night's going on. We look behind us, and it's like straight up like it looked like a wall cloud. It looked bad, and the wind's picking up like a whole lot. And I'm sitting there going, I think this is where my tent goes. Like my tent turns into a trampoline, and like anytime it's windy, the trampoline always your neighbor gets a free trampoline. So I decided to make the executive call. I'm just gonna go for it. So Alan, which was one of the things that he's involved with, he's a board member in the club, and I handed the mic to him and said, Alan, you got to announce for a second, because I said I gotta go tear my tent down because this is coming in hot, like this is bad. He's like, yep, go Bibster. So I run, go get all over my tent, get the tent completely tore down. I'm like scrambling, throwing things in the car, looking like a moron. Throwing the tent down, get it all in there. It's all back in the car. And as soon as it's all in the car, I turn and look, and it was like, like some night still. It all went north. Like it was still a little windy, so I'm kind of glad I had the tent down because the wind might have blown it, but still. So then it was, after the pull. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I actually had, you guys are like this. I had one of the straps for the tent. I had going through the open window of the car and tied to the steering wheel in case the wind did come up. It couldn't fly. It would at least attach to the car. It shouldn't pull the Honda away. But then obviously it would have just ripped the strap off and then broken the tent. So big win. But yes, so that ended up being like when the time the pull got over, and we're all done hanging out. Then I had to put the tent up. So I was like, stupid. I did say that. I said, like, everybody, I saved the day, because if I wouldn't have put my tent down, if I would have lifted up, that storm would have come in, soaked everything, and we would have ended up not having, still trying to finish the pull out, because with it being a bracket pull, they basically, if it was, as long as it wasn't, like torrential downpour, they'd have kept having it, because the thought process is the track doesn't change too much between the two competitors because they're back to back, so you might as well just keep having it, just keep going for it. So that's exciting stuff. But yeah, so I thought as I was doing, I'm like, well, this will at least make a good story. I did almost Shane, you'll like this. I was trying to sneak my way all the way back to Iowa, so I wouldn't have to buy gas in Illinois because it's quite a bit higher there. And I thought I was gonna run out of gas in the car, and I was like, if I run out of gas, I'm not gonna live it down. It was bad, so I ended up stopping. Yeah, see, that would have worked. The Hyundai would have worked that way, but I don't have the Hyundai anymore, Alex. Also, when I had the Volvo, it was a wagon. So the whole point of the wagon was supposed to be so I could just sleep in the back of the car when I would go to these things. But then I got rid of it before I ever actually slept in the back of the Volvo. So it failed horribly. It failed at never being it. Yeah, I could have totally, like, the plan was always to sleep in the back of the Hyundai at some point. But never did. Never, ever did. Man, Alex is in the house. That's Ginger, for you guys who remember from back, way back in the day of the podcast when it used to be Bibster and the Ginger Talks. Yeah, was it Bibster and the Ginger? Yeah, I think that's all we called it. Anyway, we're talking about some things. We might be bringing back some exciting times, maybe. Yeah, that's basically. So yeah, I mean, Joe, that's basically that's just tent. That's like structured tent sleeping. Still, it's as structured as I was in. Still a tent. Yeah, I did get gas. I had to find I was like, the gas station I got gas at was like maybe 5 miles from home, but I was just like, ooh, if I run out, this is gonna suck. So I just put a little bit in to get home. don't want to spend too much, but I got a little bit in. Still was cheaper to drive my car and then trying to. Everyone's like, "You didn't rent a tractor?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm not driving my truck at whatever stupid price it is right now for diesel, pulling my and get beat bad." Yeah, yeah, it really is. That's like the ultimate glamping. If it's just a tarp on your roof. I mean, I can't say anything. I grew up. I mean, the camping we did as a kid was basically glamping. And our camper wasn't the nicest, but we never. I didn't do camping until actually like until it was a few years ago. Was the first time I really did tent camping. Um, but never as a kid. Always once I was an adult is whenever was the only time I ever tent camped. And I don't mind it. I kind of like it. It's pretty easy to do. I'm gonna try and do some more of it, especially as I was like looking at this weekend. Like as Glenn gets older, before we go to these things like that and just have a couple tents, and I have all the like camp stove and all that stuff. So it's pretty. I have all the stuff to be able to do it all the time. It's just a matter of having weekends to do it. It's more of like some of these big 2-day races is probably where you'll see the camping happening. But it's fun. It's a good time. Always is. Always will be. But yeah. So what are they having to do? What's up, Logan? But yeah. So hopefully I'm going to be at some more community polls this summer. I'm going to try and take the M to at least one. We'll find out. I'm not sure which one yet, but probably like an Afton poll. That's not too far from home. Or maybe they're Monticello poll. Maybe they usually go to Iowa once a year, so maybe I'll try and hit that one up. But yeah. Anyway, no, we actually did not. That weather. I was going to ask you guys. I haven't seen, and I've been off behind on everything. Oh yeah, see that would be bad. Yeah, if you have to have CPAP batteries, then you got to have. I did have a pile of Milwaukee batteries because I was gonna have my fan. I thought it was gonna be warm. Thought it was gonna be warmer, so I did bring all those, and I ended up not needing. It was almost cold. Yeah, Shane, we didn't get any bad weather. But I was wondering about you because I know I saw some other YouTube channels that I follow up in Minnesota. They got hit pretty hard. I mean, obviously, did you guys? I mean, was it north of you guys there, or was it pretty much you guys were in the thick of it during that stuff? Was it like what, Thursday night? I think is when that storm went through. We didn't really get much of anything with that. I just heard about it down in our part of the world. It seemed like that all went north. But I mean, for some of the stuff I saw, it was. Ooh, boy. Jeez, that's not good. That's not good at all. Yeah, I don't know if they were saying. I mean, from it looked like there had been tornadoes. Some of the damage I was seeing, but at the same time, some of it also looked like when we got like a duration, like those straight line winds that we had a couple years ago. But yeah, so everything. You guys, at least buildings all fine and stuff, Shane, or was there any other damage like that? I mean, obviously, with the cows, that's not. It gets really sketchy when that kind of stuff happens. I would assume. I don't know. But I mean, I did see Twister, and so I saw where when allegedly cows will fly. So we probably don't want that. But I don't think that was the most accurate part of that movie. Maybe not. But yeah, it looked pretty rough up there. So hopefully nothing too serious. Ooh. There is a picture of from Friday night, one of the tractors pulling, and in the distance, the guy got it when the lightning strike was happening in the sky, which that looked pretty cool. But yeah, so it was just all we got on Friday night was lightning, and I think in the middle of the night it might have rained just a little, but nothing too bad, nothing that I noticed. But yeah, but it looked like Minnesota got hit pretty hard. It looked like it was up like in that kind of like mid. Western, I don't know what that would be, like the Midwestern area of Minnesota. I don't know what the exact called, Central Western. Yeah, that's good. At least it was not, it's still some clean up there with the trees, but when they start hitting buildings, that's where the problems really get sketchy, for sure. But yeah, so that's good. At least it wasn't nothing too serious. So I still got to get rid of the tree in my front yard because I just foresee that bad things, very, very, very bad things happening there if that tree were to decide to go down. That's good. That's really good, Shane. At least at this point in the year, it's not like, you know, it can't really do anything to the fields. I mean, again, maybe I'm talking out of my ear, but it's not like, if it was where you had standing corn and all of a sudden it goes ripping through and knocks it all over and makes a mess of the field that way. So at least it was, it seemed like I missed the bullet on that one, which is good because you hate to see it. I mean, you don't want to see it happen to anyone, but at least when it doesn't happen to you, at least you get to not be on all of that fun. Anyway, we're about at that. Yeah, I did that, and that's what I saw first. Logan was I saw the Millennial Farmer post, and I was like, oh wow. And then I watched his stories and like when it was coming through, I'm like, and then I saw looked like Larson. They had a bunch of damage too, and so that's why I was kind of going ooh, and that's the kind of like, and to say I'm not any obviously clearly, and if my buddy Jeff's watching, he'll make some joke about this, like very just little small channel. But when you're a big channel like that, like yeah, it's nice because it's working out pretty well for you probably on the video side. But that's it. Yeah. I mean it's like one of those like his channel's doing good amount of money, but still like it's not a fun. Doesn't matter how big the bank account is, it's still a sucky deal when like your whole shed's gone. So it's just kind of a bummer of a bad situation, and you're kind of like everyone in their neighbor when everyone knows who you are. It's like you're kind of showing. It's like you get to show the dirty laundry out. Like you can't really hide. Now you can like hide from it. Be like I don't want to have to deal with this. So kind of a stinky deal there. But it's one of those two that might be able to other farmers that obviously don't do all the social media stuff. Be able to kind of get some of the windfall from that. As if there's organizations that are going to come in and do some help. Yeah, I would say probably a really good. I mean, obviously, and that's the thing. Insurance is that's the whole point of having it. That's why when this stuff happens. But yeah, it's just a matter of like when it's before planting season. I'm sure it's just kind of like an extra stress of like, oh, I got insurance and insurance is going to cover it. But I mean, we all know as well as everybody else with all of the shortages. Not as much out there to be like, all right, just go down and pick out a new one, whatever broke. And so there's just got to be a little extra stress there. Just go, Victoria. I went through and that wasn't mentioned. Read that one. Sorry. Wow. Yeah, that'd be bad. The only thing we ever had when I was like, I think I was in first grade or something. Maybe younger than first grade. In like kindergarten or first grade, there was a big storm that went through, and it ended up it took out like it was basically a funnel cloud like hopped over a few houses, and the kind of not fun part about that was it took a lot of roof line off. Like my parents' neighborhood, it took some trees out, and then it like hopped over the next neighborhood, and like every roof got got taken out. That would have been back in like the early '90s. So that was the closest we had. I remember waking up in the middle of the night hearing it. It was pretty scary sounding because it was definitely like pretty close to the top of our house. But luckily it didn't like touch down, at least in our neighborhood. It kind of skipped over to the next one. But yeah, those things are, like I said, when we had the derecho back in 2020, that was the worst that I've ever seen. And just absolutely, I told people after, I said, when you'd always see all in the news, like when there's hurricanes and stuff, and kind of going, well, man, I wonder what that's like, and having that where it was, like an hour of just, jeez, yeah, that's exactly it. It is all just stuff, but that when we got hit by the ratio, it was like a war scene out there, just stuff everywhere, and of course, in the Midwest, everyone's got to go look and see what's going on. So you got cars driving around that are trying just to see, what's damaged, what's not, and then you got people, people without power for days on end, and it was in August, so it was hot, and it was just that was wild, and it was one of those. I was like, I hope to never. I mean, you never want to have that. I mean, I said I still can't believe with that storm we didn't have any loss of life, with just the fact that it hit in the middle of the day, kind of out of like. We had like an hour or so heads up that something was going to be bad, but didn't know it was going to be that bad, when they said it was gonna be a bad storm, I thought, okay, it's gonna be a storm. It's no big deal. But anyway, let's not. This turned into storm talk with Bibster. I like it. But I'm gonna. We're right about that 50-minute to an hour mark. I'm gonna probably shut things down just because it is getting late and it's a work night for everybody. But thanks everyone for joining in. Check out the last two videos. Metal pole in here 20 years later, and the boat is still better on the pole. That's pretty good, Logan. You'll get it back. Just straighten that thing out. It'll still float, I'm sure. Just got a little goes to the left. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining in. Check out the last two videos for quite a bit of the polling from this last weekend. And yeah, I'll probably pump some videos out this week. If not, you'll see a video wherever we go racing Friday night, if we go racing, and then we'll see a video of Saturday at the demo for sure. And then we'll be right back here at 9:30 next Sunday night, or 9:35, somewhere in there, depending on when I get out here and get everything rocking and rolling. So we'll see you guys later. Don't forget, like and subscribe, share. Thanks everyone for all the new subscribers. For checking the channel out. It's awesome. Ooh, the full clip's right now. I'm gonna go outside and look at it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.